no harm shall come to this world.
Team Naventic showing a lot of changes here in week number 4 of the Heroes Global Championship. Just those changes are difficult to enact against a team like No Tomorrow.
Yeah, they are very difficult. You know, No Tomorrow has been just, I mean, growing and growing, and I feel like their decision-making has been apparent in this series and the series that they've shown in all of phase number 2. It's just, can Naventic rebuttal back? You know, it's all it comes down to is do they have the mentality to be able to get those things? And even if they do, honestly, again, just the skill level and growth that Naventic is, that No Tomorrow's displayed and the lack thereof on the side of Naventic, again, it's just, it feels a little bit too far out of reach.
Well, I would love for Naventic to be able to get a win in this series, in this next game. It would have to be this next game since
absolutely.
they lost the last 2. However, it does seem like they start out really strong at the beginning. Like they're their strongest at the beginning of a series, and that's why when we see them get victories, it tends to be the first game. And then after that, the more they lose, the more maybe the mentality suffers. But I believe in this team. Let's see where we're going to be going because that could make a huge difference for them too. It is a battleground that we've known them to like for a long time, Battlefield of Eternity, chosen by No Tomorrow.
We'll see if they still stick to the, you know, though Dahaka hasn't been a high priority for Naventic, if they do end up picking it up on a map like this, because it is very valuable for levels 1 through 9 on the side soak, as displayed in all of phase number 1 through roll 20. I feel like this is one where I do want to say I feel like I want to give Naventic an upper hand because team fighting can really excel on a map like this, you know? But Naventic also struggles at just early game in general. So I wonder if like that is going to be because we know early game is equally as relevant on a map, like maybe more relevant on a map like Battlefield of Eternity because it can snowball out of control. If the same experience circumstance happens around the 10-9 and an Immortal's coming in, that could be a game, you know? I mean, we just watched a 10-minute game on Cursed Hollow.
Especially.
Imagine what they can do on BOE.
Yeah, with the core calls that No Tomorrow is known to make. Let's see if Naventic once again drafts more of a global style composition or if they're going to switch things up again for this week, now that we know we're going to Battlefield of Eternity. But I will say that Naventic picking first pick, even despite losing, shows maybe a more controlled mindset about this series, that they're saying, no, we're just going to stick to making sure we get first pick, getting the whatever we feel we deem to be the objectively strongest pick in the game once bans come through, and then allowing No Tomorrow to pick the battleground. And maybe that is because they feel like they share a lot of the same favored battlegrounds with No Tomorrow. Maybe there's nothing that they're fearing since they banned out Brax's Holdup, but that's not something that we've seen from Naventic before. Usually they switch that up and sometimes are willing to pick battleground.
No Tomorrow bans the Abathur. Does Naventic still lock in the first pick Uther that we've seen throughout the entire series? Again, with that kind of logic, then it very much would be an Uther pick for them. But again, like, I don't know. They struggled in game number 1 and 2. Maybe this is the one where they mix it up. It's really going to be up to them. Their fate is in their hands. I feel like on a map like Battlefield of Eternity, Genji is something you just can't give up to Talking Trees. They go down the Uther route, and I'm sure we're going to find ourselves with a Genji, and then probably this last one.
Maybe Dahaka again, because No Tomorrow banned Abathur, so once again they could do the same exact thing where they get Dahaka for Jason to be able to split away and soak while teams are posturing around the Immortals. And then, of course, Genji, because killing people is a good thing to do. Only in Heroes of the Storm.
Don't do that in real life. You can in other video games too.
Home, kids.
But don't do that in real life. My goodness, Gilly, calm down. This is a PG show.
I'm expressing my inner Brightwing.
Yeah, you are. My goodness, I might, have to check my back a bit more than I thought I did in the past. It is going to be the Genji and it is the Dahaka picked up for No Tomorrow. It's rinse and repeat at this point for them. We've talked about the logic. We understand it very much so. It's just really, I mean, why fix what isn't broke? No, it's not like Naventic is forcing anything wild here. Again, with the Uther rotation they've displayed, it's probably going to be, again, a more common 2-3 from them. They did move into the Ariel last time. You can make an argument for him on the map like BOE.
Definitely.
But it's not as reliable, at least at levels 1 through 9, and how successful that comp typically is.
Now, we've seen some teams be willing to get Vala Ariel and then switch into the Hungering Arrow build for Vala, but we've also seen teams pick up Vala Ariel Uther on Battlefield of Eternity and still run with the standard multi-shot build for Vala to make sure that they have the hope necessary for team fights. So it's all dependent on what they're valuing more on Battlefield of Eternity, what's going to be more important to them. There it is! Illidan and Ariel, because there's so many different batteries.
I was just going to say, I really wanted Naventic to pick the Illidan right here because, number one, I feel like their best chances of winning, whenever they are going to look at their best, is with offensive heroes. The next part is when Zuna is on a very high impact hero. Granted, I don't know if he's going to be on the Illidan. It's probably not. It's probably going to find somebody else repping it. Depends on what they draft everywhere else. But having him on a high impact hero, and then, you know, and Illidan wins the 1v1 into Dahaka so effectively. It's a reasonable map for it. It's not that this suddenly evens the scales, but I genuinely feel this is by far the best odds for Naventic. I'm so happy to see them in this direction.
No Tomorrow could pick Lunar here, and they've banned Vala.
That's a really good point. Suddenly you go, you know, who is going to be the battery? With our, oh man, and then the Li Ming ban is even worse when looking, you know, on the side of Naventic. Not like it's a hero they would necessarily want, but it's again limiting more into the hero pools that and the backliner hero pools that they might want, because they might find themselves, now that Vala's gone, if the Lunar is picked up, kind of going like, oh, we have nothing to deal with this. Also, haven't even talked about the fact that Anubarak's still up, and Li Ming being banned out. Usually you want the Li Ming against it to be able to get rid of the Cocoon, so maybe a bit of a double-edged sword on that Li Ming on the second ban phase for Naventic.
Well, at least it was a risk to get Illidan, but they wanted to have the Vala or the Lunara, Ariel, Uther, and then have Illidan to go with it, and they didn't get it last time. No Tomorrow banned it away from them. So this time, they have Illidan, but at what cost? Does No Tomorrow take Lunara now? They've banned Vala already, and then limit who is paired with it. Nope.
The exact same composition so far out of No Tomorrow. I mean, the only difference is instead of a Rhaegar last pick, I'm assuming we're going to experience the Kharazim, but again, that's a bit more situational just due to the map, and it's also on who they pick as the other damage dealer here for Naventic.
Well, that's, to me, shows confidence from No Tomorrow that they don't feel like they need to stop the drafting of Team Naventic. Despite having a strong 3 heroes to start things off, they still feel like no matter what Naventic drafts, No Tomorrow are still the better team. That's what that rotation says to me.
Yeah, very much could agree with you. It's just like, well, we are better than you, so you have to do something wild and catch us off guard, not the other way around. I love when we see that level of confidence coming out from players here. But for Naventic, it's the Arthas. Who is the battery, though? It's the Lunara. So now, this way more powerful of a composition than we saw in the last when looking towards Naventic. Again, nothing against the Malthael and Lunar together, but somebody has to be the person killing things. In this game, we have an Illidan.
Final pick, if No Tomorrow continues with the draft that they had last game, it'll be Rhaegar. Any reason to get something else? Maybe Kharazim for a little extra immortal damage, some punching. But otherwise,
I think they'll Kharazim here only because I know Tiger JK adores the hero and loves the impact that it can have. He was the highest priority Kharazim out of all North American supports, and you know with the success the team is displayed here, I can see them going with the Rhaegar playing it safe. But again, I feel like it's a coin toss for them. It's really more of a comfort and what they feel fits best. He's even busted out the Transcendence, you know? And again, in a wild case, and one that I don't necessarily have the argument for. 5 seconds out. Give me the Iron Fist, man.
I'm all about the bark.
Nope. Why do you gotta be about the bark?
I really like Rhaegar Genji pairing.
I agree with you because Rhaegar with any other melee hyper carry is like one of the most satisfying things. Watching Rhaegar's damage numbers actually look semi-relevant into a game, but beyond that point, I just really like Kharazim play because it's flashy. You know, like especially when we get Tiger. Tiger is our best Kharazim player. Anytime we can see palms, I want it.
But no, I agree. Actually, I love Tiger JK's palms.
Screw the bark.
But that's the double dog. I don't know. Kraven and Rhaegar.
Double dog.
It gives you some sort of extra synergy, I heard.
Yeah, no, it does.
Yeah.
It's like a 5% movement speed passive, something about like the inner feral kind of just coming out.
And especially if you're against Leoric, because they're chasing the bones.
Did you just... That, oh my. I'm actually kind of gross that I have to sit at this desk with you for the next couple of minutes. That was... 10 out of 10. Way to go.
All right, what do you think of these drafts? Naventic's, you can see what they've been working on now.
Yes.
They didn't get it last game, but they have it this game. I'm excited to see how it works.
I would put it as this. They're running a extremely powerful composition. We know the momentum's kind of been swaying against them, and No Tomorrow's running essentially the exact same thing, you know? So no surprises on the other side. Again, a relatively comfortable map and a huge power spike in their composition. I mean, I know this is kind of the last game for Naventic to win, but I feel like this is probably their best chances. Again, the Illidan rotation and then No Tomorrow not blocking anything on the battery. This is really good for Naventic, but still don't give them the upper hand.
No, I absolutely agree. They have their Arthas Lunara together. It's been a huge favorite for them, especially Lunara on Battlefield of Eternity before. We're heading into Battlefield for potentially the last game of the series, unless Naventic can win it and take us to Game 4.
It's just, you know, I was praising the confidence of No Tomorrow in the drafting, but I do kind of want Naventic to win just because I wonder if they got a little too cocky with it. You know what I mean? Like, they banned out the Vala and they didn't look towards the, you know, the hope target, which obviously seeing the ban onto the Vala, it shows more of like a we want to worry about the race, not so much onto the slowing enabling of the Illidan later on. But I feel like that's just one of those only way you lose this game type scenarios, and they let it go over to the other side. So I would really like to see, again, that performance coming out from Naventic, because Zuna's on the Illidan. I told you, this is perfect storm for them to win the game.
Hello, Zuna. Zuna spies that No Tomorrow were rotating up with all 5 members of No Tomorrow, hoping to see if maybe they could get a pick on Zuna on a solo laner, or even be able to get some early aggression in toward the structures. But in seeing that, No Tomorrow will rotate again. We're sending a Nubarak down to the bottom.
Not maybe the, you know, experienced Soaker representative that you would naturally want to be off on his own. Members of No Tomorrow actually display for the first time Dragon Azuna, but the heals from Tomsar are enough. Turret down. No Tomorrow is happy with what they've achieved.
We take out 1 turret. This will, as long as that ends up being still the most taken down structure, it helps No Tomorrow understand and dictate where the Immortal will go if they can win it. Once we get ready for that in just a little bit. And Team Naventic again, we talked about how much synergy they can have with this kind of composition, but it is ready to team fight with the double support, Lunara as the battery, only getting stronger later on, potentially even getting unfair advantage to go along with the Arthas slows is a really good combination. And then the slows of both Arthas and Lunara, as well as the poisons to enable Zuna so that he can guarantee and get the kills. We may see Team Naventic then move again into the Thornwood Vine over Leaping Strike. But I don't think we'll see them go as far as to get Nature's Culling this game. Splintered Spear just seems to be so important to a Lunara comp.
I want to say I agree with you, but Naventic has been the team historically to be by far the most stubborn on that talent. So, like, again, in an objective world, I completely agree with you, Gilly, but Naventic has their eyes set on Nature's Culling more than others. Nice Howling Blast, the follow-up stun, Detainment Strike. They had more than enough crowd control to find themselves a Casanova, and they get the first blood now for Naventic. And look at it. I want to just note kind of not so much the play out of, it's like the movement of Naventic already is different than we've seen in every other game. And I feel like that is every time Zuna is on a hero that he feels like he has a high impact on, suddenly the whole team plays better. Just everyone reacts to him, and it looks like a completely different squad. Now, we're only 2 minutes in, but I want to keep noting that, watching how they play moving forward, because I feel like I already see it.
I feel like you can see that with any team who gets a composition that they've been doing well in scrims with or in competition. It's just a different mindset, one that, you know, they feel comfortable on, they've got the synergy on, they've been able to play a bunch. And when I think of this composition in particular, I also consider how even in Death is perfect Hammer of Justice to stop the drag from getting more value from Jason. But like I was saying, even in Death, when they get this kind of composition, right? When they get their Vala, Illidan, and then the double support, you can see the difference in play there. And that just shows to you what Naventic has been working on and wanting to show and play this weekend here at HGC.
So this is one of those things that I try to highlight that No Tomorrow is doing differently. Like, how many times have we seen a team give up an Immortal and just be like, take out the front wall and cycle in? it's one of those things where you're like, my opponent's going to spend 5 seconds to get the rest of this Immortal, and most teams are going, okay, well, we'll see you in 5 minutes when you got the Immortal. No Tomorrow's taking the time to go like, okay, well, then what can we get in that 5 seconds? They got a free front wall. It's not game-changing, but that's the type of stuff that adds up, Gilly. That small little thing eventually could be the reason we see No Tomorrow win or lose this game. But for now, the Immortal on the side of Naventic, they're feeling good. Zuna popping off there a little bit too much as Jason gets the punishment with a drag.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a bait there. We saw Greymane get fairly low in health, but once again, No Tomorrow making the right rotation to save. And they know that they're going to lose this fort. It was a very strong Immortal anyway, so they keep someone down at the bottom to soak while No Tomorrow take out a fort and get the same. No Tomorrow is doing what we have praised Gale Force in the past for doing, and that is limiting their losses, making sure that if they lose somebody, if they lose something, they get an adequate trade for it.
Yeah, it's the responding to a losing situation is always how my brain kind of plays that out here. But Naventic, they got an entire fort and a keep front wall. Jason body blocked up on top. Zuna getting the dodging of the keep, and the hammer justice isn't there, not even needed. Body blocked on outside while skipping away, and another kill here for Naventic. Everything is working out into the earlier stages. You got to be scared if you're No Tomorrow. You've been winning the early game in every single game. It's only the mid to late that you've been struggling at, and only in one game, game number 1. So for the first time, they find themselves on the back foot 5 minutes in. That has to feel weird.
Definitely, and especially because they've started to lose out on some structures where before they had that sort of padding if they were to lose fights later on in the mid-game, like in game number 1, because they were so far ahead on Infernal Shrines in structures, even when they lost some fights. But it means for No Tomorrow that there's less room for error. They have to be more on their toes for this game. They get some mercenary camps. They're going to have a great push here in the bottom lane, specifically with that double mercenary camp. They want to try to get the fort with it.
Moving up, B-Kid trying to zone away with getting the debuff there out of the Frozen Tempest. Or Frozen Waste? What is that one? Help
Frozen
me.
Tempest.
Frozen Tempest? What is Frozen Waste?
Frozen Waste is the level 4 talent.
That makes sense.
That
That's why I got that mixed up.
Yeah, that he actually has.
My bad. I was just like, that seems like that's not Frozen Waste, but it doesn't seem like it was a Frozen Tempest. Zuna on an island here. Luckily, he's got a friend to get away from the foes. Is that a talent pun? Not close enough, right? Like, it was too far away. I'm just sorry.
I liked it.
You won on the Cheesy Joke Award. I feel like I need at least a hand on it.
I thought that was great.
Thank you.
I was nodding. That was good.
Nod of approval.
Yes.
AKA nod of disappointment.
Do you want some sort of seal of approval? Like, should I have a stamp and some sort of stamp book here in the middle and I just throw out the stamp every time?
I want like an actual seal of approval. Like a seal that's
like
named approval.
Or.
Yeah, like that type of seal of
We've
approval.
gone too far now.
Next Immortal's up. The race is here. Naventic closing upon that 10 mark. Being very, very passive here as they have the Shaman Camp pressuring up on top, something that No Tomorrow will eventually have to respond to. Jason, kind of left alone.
These slows are so frustrating. Once Jason gets adaptation, it'll be a different story. But right now, all he's got is his burrow, and he saves it until the bitter end. But unfortunately, it won't save his life when you have the damage. And really just Zuna on Illidan being there to make sure to seal the deal and get the kill. So there's a little bit of time where No Tomorrow doesn't have Dahaka. He will be back up in a few seconds. Should be able to stalk back in. Oh, he did not take adaptation. So once again, No Tomorrow are going to have isolation and Locust Swarm. And Bloodlust.
And they got the, wow, the hunt goes on to
Here
Talking
we
Trees.
go.
The Bloodlust is breaking out. Naventic's already down the Lunara. Tiger JK ends up being victim as well, but look at that. Naventic's health bars falling so very low, and just, I mean, the burrows, everything about this is so clean from Naventic. It's really just how fast can Naventic nope out of this fight?
4 kills.
For 2.
For the 2 of Dahaka and Rhaegar. And a lot of that was Genji.
What?
Talking Trees, again, showing his Genji prowess. They've won the team fight, now they can look to win the Immortal.
Now No Tomorrow. This is the first time this entire game, I know it seems weird, where we can say they had the upper hand. They have the momentum for themselves. We'll We'll see if Naventic can get the kind of reel it back in to control, because again, they've been playing body language-wise very different than we've seen in some of the other games, and I expect them to put up a lot more competitive of a mid-game here. Zuna starts with a Hunt Cleanse coming out from No Tomorrow, and that is going to be the end of that.
That'll get Equinox back. If Naventic can get Big Impact into position, he did take Thornwood Vine, so he can throw up and have some pretty consistent pokes on the Immortal and try to even out. They've almost been able to even out the Immortal health bars so far. No Tomorrow have a lot of heroics that they want to wait on before they get into full engagements again. The big deal is having Dragon Blade for Genji. They've got the Bloodlust now ready too, and they'll have Locust Swarm in just a few seconds. On the other side though, Naventic, we didn't talk about it yet. No Divine Shield for Illidan this time, who also went for the Hunt. Dragged, connects, Divine Storm as soon as Tomster comes out. Tomster likely will be the first one to go down, although does have a heal. Here goes all the heroic abilities.
Wow, he stayed alive, and that was maybe not what they wanted here. Naventic on full retreat now as they have very little heals. Nice rebuttal with the stun there. Zuna's looking to make things happen as he is seeing low members on the side of No Tomorrow. And the conversion, even without Uther dying, Naventic holds it together with the double support Illidan composition and wipe 4 members of No Tomorrow.
Only Genji remains. Naventic are going to hope that they can take out the Immortal, but Genji this whole time has been on Bella, the red Immortal, hoping that he can get this. Naventic sends B-Kid back in to try to get Talking Trees off of this Immortal so that Naventic can still win the Immortal in this phase.
Look at that attack speed debuff, making it so very difficult. Nice dodge there.
And the extra slow that lasts even once he gets out of it, there's your Frozen Waste coming into action.
Hey, Zuna, though, on his own here over the mercenary camp, he forces the Aegis. He gets blown up before they can get the heal afterwards. Big impact. Lies victim as well, biting off of maybe a bit too much with their advantage, and now No Tomorrow is the one clawing into it.
Naventic still get the Immortal, but yes, sending B-Kid back to deal with Genji was really good, but separating out that much for Team Naventic has cost them. Not having both your damage dealers while this Immortal starts pushing is going to limit what it can do, and it already wasn't going to do a whole lot because its shielding was so low. So No Tomorrow are going to hope that they can clean this up just as fast as they possibly can.
Yeah, it is going to be relatively easy for them. One thing we got to keep in mind is the fact that now we are at the 13 mark. Talking Trees with that Shuriken build has the bonus single target damage out of the Shuriken. It helps so much when it comes to the racing potential on his own and the kill potential onto those squishies like Big Impact, like having, I Dream there onto the Ariel. See if he can hit all 3. And, No Tomorrow, I wonder if they're... I just wonder if they are beginning to second guess the Bloodlust play that we've seen out of them 2 games in a row, but more importantly, the Lunara ban. I feel like we said it at the beginning of the game, now that we find ourselves dead even here, where debatably Naventic is winning-ish, do you regret it?
Because yes, we'll find out if they lose the game.
Yeah, I mean, game 1 and 2 was just so clean, and now the fact that they have to second guess themselves enough has got to be, a little bit of a, downer when it comes to the morale.
Well, one change-up that we've at least seen from Tiger JK's build this time around is instead of going into tidal waves, he held his 13 for a while, considering if he wanted, again, that cooldown reduction for his heal, or if he wanted the Earth Shield this time around. Jason's been dying a lot, and he doesn't have adaptation as that extra health bar. He's fully relying on his essence to be able to keep him alive. So now, in having Earth Shield, there won't be the tidal waves, the additional healing cooldown reduction, but he will have that shield to maybe give a little bit extra time for No Tomorrow, whoever is getting focused, to try to stay alive long enough to turn the fight.
Yeah, No Tomorrow, as well with the Bloodlust, it is very interesting the fact that they didn't commit to a defensive for the Warriors, and support doesn't have a defensive cooldown. Zuna, though, the drags there, Bloodlust is down. They're going to take the full-on fight, but look at Big Impact. His damage is so very high. Tomster with the Divine Storm. It is just a beautiful prep. He's got the Ollie, somebody's got the Oop, and now Naventic is on full chase.
Nobody could take down Beacon in time once he got Army of the Dead up and running, and then Tomster came in with that perfect Divine Storm to keep No Tomorrow from escaping. when Naventic got close to the kills, and it's only going to get worse for No Tomorrow with the composition that Naventic has. Lunara gets scarier and scarier as she scales up with her poisons. Now she already has unfair advantage. We'll see what she gets at 16. The hunt comes in. Tiger JK is in trouble, hoping he can get out, but there's no way with B-Kid on your tail.
I was going to say, well, at least you can ancestral yourself for the meme, but it's a double meme now. He took the bloodlust, you know? I was going to go full circle with that one, but now we find ourselves with No Tomorrow being down Tiger JK. 16 talents here is being crept in for Naventic. And again, a rather healthy shielded Immortal. With Zuna being on the Illidan, having that kind of dive composition, siege-ish in a very weird way, not so much in structures, but diving past the structures and looking for the kills. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a keep, and maybe it, depending on how many kills happen, game for Naventic.
See what Ariel gets at 16. Will of Heaven with that attack speed would help a lot for Illidan. Casanova.
No, he's going
There's nothing
down.
to help.
It's like the Titanic.
Oh,
Nobody can save you
nice.
except Tiger JK out of nowhere. Oh my goodness, he is an absolute legend. I didn't see him on the minimap. I thought for sure he was dead. Working miracles, but you know, I guess if you save one, you lose another.
There's a life lesson for you playing at home. When in doubt, when you need to run to your support.
Yep.
So your support can save you. Do not run away.
Is
from
that your
support.
boy Tomster?
Oh, yeah. Every single Divine Storm has been money for Naventic, just like that. 2 more kills, 16 here.
He just busted out every hammer in the book. You got the first hammer justice, second there with the benediction stun to prep it, perfectly timed. There was 0 overlap, maybe a little bit too long a window in between. If you're being nitpicky, that was really well done. Making plays new onto the roll here. But you got a Grinch phase going here, girl. What is that about?
Just interested to see the Wrath of Heaven versus Will of Heaven. But yeah, it's just it's a difference of where they want to get their damage. If they want to give it the auto attack speed, which I thought maybe we would have the attack speed there, and then you pair that with Splintered Spear. And it's basically like getting 2 of Lunara's talents, level 16 talents, in one, because there's also an attack speed talent there. But in this case, going to give Wrath of Heaven some more ability base there, giving us the additional spell power. But it's all about this Immortal Dread. Can Naventic take out the first keep of the game?
I think they've got the keep. They very much don't have that risking of the game in the same way that we had before. Way too much damage onto the Immortal. It would have to be, you know, a crisis if we found No Tomorrow in that position in the next couple of minutes. Casanova looks like he's going to rebuttal, moves in, gets the drag onto Ariel, but she makes it out alive. Genji goes in, a beautiful heal from iDream, and the pressure Zuna's applying on the backside, but he gets caught out. The return for No Tomorrow, and the focus fire is there, and now they want more.
Equinox getting very low. Jason goes in for one more drag, but No Tomorrow are struggling to deal with the damage that Lunara puts out. 3 members go down for No Tomorrow. And Team Naventic, even in losing Illidan, start to bring down the core to take us to game number 4.
They are going to be able to push it here. No way to stop that. No Tomorrow taking a lot of risky choices when it comes to the draft. Naventic getting everything they wanted, and when they did, they looked like a different beast. The fact that they even doubled in kills just shows the tale of Naventic when they get these offensive picks. And that is now 2-1, still in favor of No Tomorrow. But Naventic, man, I want to say I didn't feel like it was possible, but after the draft, I feel like it was pretty clear that I was like, you guys are a little too confident here. But I almost kind of like it, I'm going to be honest, because if that was a common thing we had in North America, I'd be like, guys, seriously, like, we're going to take this huge risk and let that go. But they're one of the first teams I've just been like, screw drafting around you. Like, we're just going to take what we want. You can play whatever. We're that much better. You know, and now I expect to see that kind of change, but at least for one game showing that, and it being potentially the last.
Yeah, it's obvious that No Tomorrow is willing to take some risks in the drafting phase to test their opponents and see what they can get away with, even as far as the first game, not banning Genji and saying, will you play Genji? We'll have to find out. And it turns out that Naventic did, but even still, No Tomorrow were able to beat them with that. And then playing with the Bloodlust too, like how fast can we win these games? Well, it turns out when Naventic gets the right composition with their Illidan and Lunara, it's not fast at all, and in fact, you're going to lose the game. But it worked out for them very well on game number 2. So in this instance, it's nice to see them take some risks, and especially when they have the ability to do so because they are seen as so far ahead of Team Naventic. And there's still 2 games up in the series. They can make whatever adjustments are necessary in this draft.
Yeah, the only way I would be scared for them tomorrow is if we watch the next draft, game number 4, and we see equal confidence coming out from them, and Naventic gets a little bit of everything that they want. And again, the perfect storm I was kind of talking about, where I feel like if Zuna especially gets on a hero where he can be very high impact, the whole squad looks like a different beast. And so if that happens again, then I'd be like, all right, no, tomorrow maybe we gave you too much credit early on. But I'm pretty confident that they'll just reel it back in, just target one more ban. All it was the second ban. It really was just one little click, and that whole game could have been different.
As a previous professional support player, what do you think Tiger JK was considering, or why he wanted to get Earth Shield? Because obviously cooldown reduction versus Lunara probably would have been very nice. They were dealing with Splintered Spear, so a lot of poisons, a lot of heals necessary to try to keep the team alive. But yeah, getting Earth Shield, I thought maybe it was for Jason, because Jason was going down a lot and went for isolation over adaptation again, but didn't know if maybe you had any other reasoning in mind, potentially.
I mean, definitely my first thought is that they're afraid of obvious burst. Like, that's the first thing you go to, because the synergy with every other talent out of the Storm Shield, like Lightning Bond, right? Like, none of those things are taken for damage anymore. The damage has been nerfed too consistently over time. So the only reason you go for that is single target survivability, or enabling one of those heroes that gets the shield to really thrive. Heroes that are kind of very good at that are Illidan, like we have Genji now, and actually, because of the heroic choice taken, Locust Swarm and New Barak with the Earth Shield, it makes him kind of, before the nerf damage came in, he kind of does the same amount of damage. Not as big of a radius, still a little bit less in the survivability, but a New Barak is a huge threat whenever he gets an Earth Shield plus Locust Swarm and doubling the damage on those. So that would be my first thought, is between the Genji and a noob, they felt like that was reasonable, but I guaranteed Tiger JK's thought process, like normally, is, oh man, I need tidal waves to deal with these poisons.
Yeah, especially since we saw tidal waves in the last game with the exact same composition, but in this game, changing it up, getting Earth Shield, and a lot of times too when we see that, it is paired for Ancestral too, to give that little bit of extra shielding necessary just to make sure that the target stays alive during the cast animation of Ancestral. It was interesting to see the adjustment. Unfortunately, no tomorrow. We're able to win that game, but not really on just one single talent. There was a lot of factors there, like Naventic getting the draft that they wanted and playing it out of their minds with it. Soon we'll be getting into game number 4, but that's got to be a good mentality shift for Naventic to have going into game 4.
Absolutely. But I feel like that could also be, it can work both ways. A lot of it comes down to, yes, everybody's got to be feeling better, but what if that shifts too much? Like, I can see immediately, what if that means, like, suddenly they're Illidan focused, right? That becomes a hyper focus for them in the draft. I'm just slaying the Stafflet, dude. My goodness. But so essentially hyper focus on it, and then every draft for the next couple of weeks, it has to be like, well, Illidan is too high a priority, to the point where it's like, seriously, this high up. I'm not saying that it will go that far, or we'll even see it go to that extent, but the team has to use it as a beneficial thing. It can still be a negative, even for Naventic, if they try and change too much based on that win.
Well, we've got a tweet we can check out while we wait for No Tomorrow to decide on first pick or battleground choice. Eddie SC, Gillyweed, most punny casting ever. 10 out of 10. Thank you. At least it wasn't 6.5, so I appreciate that. You're willing to give me